The world can be a hard place, can't it? We look around us and we see both the good and the bad. And sometimes the bad seems to be far more prevalent. We see crime. We see poverty. We see disaster with hurricanes and earthquakes. We see the news with violence breaking out all over Afghanistan. And we wonder, what can be done? How can this happen? We ask why. And sometimes we ask about ourselves. Why me? Why my family? Why my friends? Other times we may just ask, how? How could this happen? How could this be? Sometimes we just want to blame others, or worse, hide our heads in the sand, pretending it's not really happening. Perhaps, though, these are all the wrong questions for believers. We've been hearing a lot about feeding and being fed these last few weeks. One feature that's been ever present in the crowds, always seeking Jesus, but as we've learned, not always for the right reasons. Yet, we can't forget all the way back in Mark 6, when the crowds found them, as Jesus and his weary disciples had gone to a deserted spot to get some much-needed rest. Jesus had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Then we got to the meat, or rather the fish of the matter, with the 5 loaves and 2 fish, which miraculously fed 5,000 people. The crowds, the same crowds that we heard the previous week, they were on the move too. They were heading to Jerusalem for the Passover. It was a long journey for most of them, and it wasn't surprising they were hungry. Certainly, the opportunity to hear Jesus preach and teach would have been enough for any of them to make a stop. But maybe some of them also needed healing. You remember, Jesus had asked his disciples how they would feed the crowd. Remember, it was getting late, and it was a desolate place. While Philip was very rational about what was available, what they had in their resources, Andrew brought what he had found from a boy: 5 loaves, 2 fish. And he gave them to Jesus. The crowd, they were filled and thankful, and they wanted to make Jesus king. But likely, they were looking out for themselves, their own interests, and likely for the popular conception of the Messiah, who would come to drive out the Romans and restore Israel to being a nation again. Perhaps they forgot the part that they were to play in encountering the world, of being a blessing to that same world. And then we moved on to Capernaum, where Jesus and the disciples ended up after a stormy voyage, and Jesus walking on the sea. The crowds found them there, surprised they had gotten there before them. But we noted that John had stopped calling them the crowds and instead started calling them the Jews, a signal that they were the authorities, opposed to Jesus and his teachings, opposed to the Christian community. They wanted to be fed all right, but with food like manna in the wilderness. They were not coming to Jesus in faith to be fed spiritually and to in turn minister to others. And Jesus points this out to them, and they ask for a sign. They had just received a sign the day before, the miracle of the loaves and fishes. Jesus tells them plainly that he is the bread from heaven, and they don't get it. All they could see was their own knowledge, Jesus' family, and they rejected that he was indeed sent by God. So then, we came to last week's reading and its bombshell contents. We heard the Eucharistic echoes, and not wisely, maybe even a bit smugly. How could they not see the truth? And we heard that the question might be, what are we missing too? Jesus' hearers were looking too small in one way and too much in another. Too much in their cultural identity, that is. Yes, they were still thinking of their daily needs. But remember, we also pray for our daily needs in the Lord's Prayer. We know there's nothing wrong with that. But they were not looking to the greater needs of the world. They were still focusing in on themselves. What was shocking was what they were told to feed on, telling them that they needed to feed on Jesus and rely on him, depend on him, to be nourished by him, was beyond anything they could comprehend. And let's face it, it does sound a little bit like cannibalism. Then, when Jesus tells them they are to drink his blood, they totally lose it. For the Jewish people, blood was life and sacred to God. You did not drink blood. All blood was offered to God, and God alone. Meat was carefully prepared so there wouldn't be any blood consumed. No rare steaks here. What they were, and perhaps we are missing, is the totality of the call into Jesus' life, his ministry, and yes, giving all sacrificially in his death to redeem the world. Our world tends to compartmentalize everything and resist anything that takes away our individual agency. Moving from the crowd to the individual and blocking out the world. Today, matters have reached a climax. Disciples realized the demand is on their life, their entire being, and that to follow meant that nothing would ever be the same again. They were being asked to give a commitment, given in very earthly terms, terms which we've already noted would have been very offensive. It was also speaking of the participating not only in Jesus' life, but also in his death. To fully follow where he leads and to trust him, to abide in him fully. With this is the link that it is the Spirit of God who enables the disciples to hear these words and to follow our Lord. But it is not a forced following. The disciples have a choice to make. We hear that many of the disciples turned back and went away. They left our Lord and Savior. You get the sense that the crowds that had been following so closely and so eagerly and so overpoweringly have drifted away. Drifted away rather dramatically. Then Jesus turns to the 12 and asks them the question, will they also leave? Peter gives that amazing statement of faith. Where else can they go? Now, we do need to remember that some may have come back. We can't just dismiss that everybody left and never returned. We don't know that. But there's the plain sense that the call to discipleship, including living in the life and death of Christ, was beyond the ability for many to accept. The question for us today as modern disciples is the same. Will we, through the grace of God, hear the call and respond to our Savior? Do we look at the cost? Remember, in Luke's Gospel, we are told to count the cost of discipleship. We're not to go in blindly. But when we do look at the cost, do we tend to behave as some of those early followers and turn away? Do we say this total commitment is just too much? Maybe we might say, but others depend on me. I can't just abandon them. I have responsibilities. Maybe I could do this discipleship stuff part-time. Maybe instead we say something like, I'm not gifted enough to be a disciple. I really can't be used. I'm too weak, or I'm too old, or I'm too young. You know, while all of these things might be true, or so the world might say is true, remember, it is not the world who is calling you, who is calling me. The one who is calling us is our Heavenly Father. And our Heavenly Father knows far better than we do all of our capabilities and our abilities and the responsibilities we have. He knows us, and He knows what is possible. And of course, some of you are probably thinking, and with God, all things are possible. And that is true. Our Heavenly Father will equip us. So, as Paul put it, we can stand strong, not in our own strength, but in the power of God. We heard a lot about that in our epistle lesson today, didn't we? Did you notice that all of the armor, except the sword, are defensive items? By defensive, I mean that they're used to protect. They're not used to attack. Further, the sword is the sword of the Spirit, the very Word of God. And this tells us the fighting is not something that we will do. We're just called to stand firm. So today, we are called to make a commitment. We do need to count the cost, but we also must know that the one calling is the one who holds true life in His hands and is offering us eternal life, full life, complete life as well. He is my Lord and Savior. We are all called to follow Him as disciples. Hear these words again from Scripture. Simon Peter answered Him, Lord, to whom can we go? You have the words of eternal life. We have come to believe and know that you are the Holy One of God. Amen and amen.